Hello again. I'm going to cover African Helix stitch in this video. It's a great structural stitch. I've used it in one of my designs called Morgan Le Fay. I'm wearing it and you can see that, well, I've used one colour of seed beads. It's better when you start to use two and you'll see why. The stitch consists of an inner core of colour and outer spirals of these spines that rather stand out. That's why it's so beautiful structurally. It's great for making ropes and for necklaces and for bracelets. So let's have a little look at what I'm going to be using. I've got size D Nymo thread, a size 12 needle, two contrasting colours in seed beads, one for the core colour and one for the spine beads that are going to go spiralling around. I've got a little piece of blue tack and a dowel which is about 3 to 4 millimeters, and of course some scissors to cut the thread. I'm going to start with just the core filler colour beads, and I pick up 12. Just check. That's 5, 10, 12. Lovely. I don't need a stop bead because they're going to be passed through again. And once more through those to get to the final one. So I've gone through all 12 again, and I'm just going to make a nice knot because that's going to disappear in between the beads and it's not going to be causing a problem. So that's a nice tight knot. 12 beads because the first row I'm going to use 4 stitches, and 12 is divisible by 4, so that means I'm going to make a stitch every third bead. And this is where the dowel comes in. I'm going to slide my little ring onto the dowel, and I'm going to really get rid of this tail thread because I don't want it bothering me whilst I'm working. You can wind it nicely round and round and then stick it in place with the bit of blue tack. It's great. Gets it out of the way and it supports your beadwork nicely for you, so I can pull down. Right, so the first row I need to now pick up, this is where it starts to distinguish between the core beads and the spine. So I need to pick up 3 core and 2 spine beads. And as I said, I'm going to be working from every third bead on there. But I don't actually pass through beads, I pass under the thread, and this is how I like to do it. I like to pass the needle towards me. Now I'm not going to worry too much at the moment, not until the beads get up to where they're supposed to be. Now if you can see where the thread was coming from, where I made the knot, there's bead 1, let's call it, bead 2 and bead 3. And I'm going to make sure that the thread, not the beads, get those beads out of the way, the thread passes under the thread between beads 3 and 4. And this first one is always very tricky, but just give it a time. And I'm going to flip it over myself. The one difficult thing is not allowing those beads to go underneath the thread and come tumbling out from underneath, but that's in place. And now it's made a little sort of V shape with the 3 and the 2 there. And just keep nice and secure. I'm going to grip that with my fingers so that it's not going anywhere. And for the next stitch I pick up the 3 core beads and 2 spine beads. And knowing that that's 1, 2, 3, and the thread's gone down between 3 and 4, I'm going to go down between 6 and 7. So let's just count again. 4, 5, 6. I'm going down through there, underneath the thread, and I'm holding this thread nice and tightly so it's not going anywhere. So I want it to come down through here between those two. And as I pull, it's going to set in place. Just check, because they can slip. 1, 2, 3, and it's there. 1, 2, 3, and it's there. So now I'm moving on to the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 2. Now this first row, there will be 4 discrete stitches, but from then on, it spirals. So I'm going to again grip this thread nice and tightly and pass the needle underneath the thread, coming down, just making sure there's the thread. That's where it's got to go, between those 2 beads, and I'm actually going to dig it down between them. It doesn't want to stay, but I'm going to pull it down between those 2 and just slide the beads down. Alright, now I've got my 3 stitches, and there we are, the final 3 of the 12 ready. This just needs a bit of patience to start with, and once it really gets going, it's a great stitch. Very addictive actually. Like spiral staircase. In fact, I think all spiral stitches are very addictive. I'm just making sure that my thread is going to be coming around underneath, and yet another 3 beads are caught up. So that's the first row. Looks a little bit haywire, but just bear with me, because from now on we're spiraling. So 1, 2, 3, and 2, and I'm gripping this nice and tightly so they're not going to go anywhere. It is a strange stitch. It does feel strange because you're not actually passing through any beads. Now I'm going to pass the needle underneath the thread, but of this first stitch that I put in on that row, and I'm coming down from the top, gripping it, and the thread has quite kindly slid underneath there for me, and I'm pulling up tight, and the spine seems to now have been gone from 2 to 4. They've just settled themselves beautifully in line. I'm still going to keep grip on it, because in this early stages I don't want the beads to unsettle. So let's bring that down. And I'm coming over from the top, and this is the next stitch, and I'm going to just pass the needle down through that space there, in that vicinity, and in fact the loop has gone behind, but this happens. I'm going to pull it down, it's gone down in that vicinity, and it's just going to fall into place. Now I don't know if you saw that, but as I pulled down, the beads were upright and they slid down into place. In fact, the more that you do of the spiral, the more that happens. Have a look in this next stitch and you'll see. I'm gripping it, I'm gripping the working thread, and I'm coming up over from the top. I'm going to pass the needle down, and it's going down there between those 2 where the pink ones are. Whoops, it's just jumped out. Exactly what can happen in these early stages. I'm just going to guide it in place with my thumb. Now watch, as I pull, the beads will slide downwards. That latest stitch slid downwards into place. Watch again, because we're starting to get a nice established spiral happening. Okay, grip the thread, the working thread, and hold it, come down from the top, my finger and just bring that down there like that. There it is in place for you to see. And watch as I pull. They slide into place. Now we're getting somewhere. Don't shy away from African Helix. It really is worth having a good go because it is such a lovely stitch once you've had a go, once you've mastered it. Now this is the next stitch that's presenting itself. It looks a little bit hidden because it's up near the top of the beginning of this stitch, this sample, and sometimes it looks a little bit bunched up at the beginning. By pulling down, they will start to organise themselves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Just pass down and make sure the needle and the thread pass down between the spine bead and the first core bead there. And did you see that beautifully? It just slid down into place perfectly. Couldn't have wanted for anything better. Just have another go. Pass down between the pink and the core, and I'll just pull it in place and bingo, there it is. Just keep growing it and it looks so lovely. Pull and down. There we are, and so on. You'll find if you find a bead slightly out of place, when you bring it off the rod, you can actually manipulate it into place. It's just slightly moved. And that's African Helix. Have a go and watch it grow. Come back and see me soon.